Hello YouTube, this is Peter J. Hopkins. Even though I'm a musician, the video that I receive the most requests to make is a video on how to solve the Rubik's Cube, because people who see my first video, which was on a particular aspect of solving larger cubes, apparently liked it and wanted me to make another one. So this is going to be the first video in a series on how to solve your standard 3x3 Rubik's Cube or V-Cube or whatever it is that you have. You can see my cube's kind of beat up. I got it in high school, which was a long time ago, and it was one of the kind where the stickers are made of paper, not plastic, and so the lamination is falling off of them and they're not in very good shape. But it's mine and I love it and I've had it forever. So the first step is to discuss, let's discuss a little bit about how the cube is constructed. The centers of each face tell you what color that face is supposed to be. So for example, there isn't any way that you can change what color the center is. And you might be thinking, well, I could turn the middle layer, but you'll realize if you look at it, turning the middle layer is basically just the same as turning the top and the bottom layer. So it doesn't really move anything around. The faces always have the exact same relationship to each other. The centers always have the same relationship to each other. That's the first thing you need to remember. The second is that an edge piece, there are three types of pieces: centers, edges, and corners. And an edge piece will always have to fit between the two centers that share the same color that it has. The same way with a corner piece. Like for example, this corner piece would always have to sit between the blue, red, and green centers, because it has blue, red, and green. There's no way that these three faces on this corner cube could get shuffled around in any way. They're fused the way they are in that exact relationship. Same with the edge pieces. So this edge piece could only ever fit between the blue and the red. This edge face could only ever be between yellow and red. The next thing we need to talk about is a little bit of notation for what are called algorithms. An algorithm is just a sequence of moves that helps you to solve a particular aspect of the cube. It makes it sound way nerdier than it really is. They're just sequences of moves that you have to memorize. And the way you do them is, you hold the cubes the way I'm holding it right now. Red is front, which is represented by an F. White is up. It's not called top, it's called up. I don't know why, they just do. Which is white in this case. Down is blue. It's not bottom, it's down. Right is yellow. Left is green. And back is orange, the way I'm holding the cube now. Now you can hold it any way you want, just as long as you remember which color is which, however you're holding it. When you turn a face clockwise, it's represented by just the letter all by itself. When you turn a face counterclockwise, it's represented with a little prime or a little tick notation next to it. So that's basically all you need to know about algorithms. We'll get into them later. The first step you need to do is shuffle your cube, and I usually do this with my eyes closed. So that's pretty well scrambled. The first thing you want to do, this is your electric Kool-Aid test, if you will. You want to get your edge pieces for whatever face you want to do first. I always do red first because red's my favorite color. So in this case, you need to get the 4 edge pieces that have red on them in the right spot. There really isn't any special way of telling you how to do this. You're going to have to fiddle with the cube yourself until you figure it out. The time you spend will help you figure out everything else that we need to do. So it'll help you to get comfortable with the cube, with what exactly it is that you need to do to get pieces from one place to another. So that's your test. If you can't get the 4 red edge pieces in the right places, then maybe you should look for another hobby, because I can't really help you with that. That's something you're going to have to figure out on your own. Okay, hopefully, with a little bit of practice and a little bit of effort, you got all of the edge pieces for your first face in place. See how yellow and red line up, blue and red line up, green and red line up, and white and red line up. Again, I chose red because it's my favorite color. You could choose any color you want. You don't have to do it in the same order that I do. It doesn't matter what color order you do things in, just as long as you know what you're doing. You keep track of it. The next step is you want to get the corners in the right places on the face that you're starting with. And the quick and easy way to do that is to look on the bottom and look for a corner that you can put in place. Here we have blue, yellow, and red. And you want to get it underneath of the spot on the top where you want it to be. So you see how I have this one, I want to get it up here, and I have it underneath of it. So here, my thumbs are on the front face, by the way I'm holding my cube right now. And there's a simple algorithm, you just do it over and over and over again to get this up here correctly. And it's R prime, D prime, R, D. R prime, D prime, R, D. And you just do R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D, until this is in the right place and is flipped around the correct way. And then it's up there. You notice I did the last D even though I didn't have to. It's good to get in the habit of doing that because later on you will. Now here's a case where it's in the right spot but it's not turned around correctly. See, we have red, green, blue, red, green, blue. It's in the right place. This is where we want it, but it's not oriented correctly. You do the same algorithm. R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D until it's right. So let's look for another one. Here is red, white, and green. R prime, D prime, R, D. There we go. It's in the right spot. Red, yellow, blue. R prime,
I meant
D
to
prime,
say white
R,
there.
D.
Sorry about that.
R prime, D prime, R, D. R prime, D prime, R, D. Now, if you think about it really hard, you'll probably be able to figure out shortcuts for how to do that. You don't have to do the R prime, D prime, R, D algorithm over and over and over again. If you practice it, you'll find, I am certain, lots of little tricks you can do to eliminate a lot of those moves. But that's the simple, easy way to do it. The next step is we want to get all of the edge pieces in this sort of middle layer. We flip the cube over so that the face that we already solved is on the bottom. And we start looking at these edge pieces. That's what we want to get in place. So we look around the top. Okay. Here's the blue and green edge piece. I line it up so that this is the front. I'm using blue as the front. In this particular case, the front is going to change depending on which color you're working on. So right now, blue is my front, green is my right. We want this piece to flip over down here. Okay, there's an algorithm for getting this piece in here without screwing up what you've already done. And if you want to move it down to the right, so that, see, if I were rotating it to the right without messing anything else up, this is the algorithm that you use.
Disclaimer, I'm using a cheat sheet. I could do all these algorithms in my sleep, but sometimes I have a hard time remembering the numbers and letters.
Up, right, up prime, right prime, up prime, F prime, up, F. And you'll see it went in there without messing up anything that we did before. Let's find another one. Here we go. I get this down to the right. So we use the same algorithm. Up, right, up prime, right prime, up prime, up, front. It's in the place. Okay, now let's say that there's one that you need to go to the left. There's another algorithm that you use, which is almost sort of like a mirror image of the first one. And it's this. Up prime, L prime, up L, up front prime, front prime. And that moves it down to the left. And you'll see it's kind of like a mirror image, which makes it a little bit easier to memorize if that's what you're trying to do. Alright, the next step is we want to make a cross on our top, on our last face. See, everything else is solved except this layer right here, which is now our top, our up layer. We want to make a cross of the edges. There are a couple different situations you could end up with. One is where all you have is a center, and we're ignoring the corner pieces, right now. We're just trying to get the edge pieces. If none of the edge pieces are in place, you can do either one of the algorithms that I'm about to teach you, and it'll fix that situation. If you have a flat line like I have right here, you want to turn the cube so that this line is horizontal to your body, and you do this algorithm.
I'm such a dirty cheater. I swear, I can do these algorithms with my eyes closed, but I just cannot remember how to say them.
Front, right, up prime, up prime, front prime. Okay? Now, if you have this situation where you have sort of you want a backwards L, you can do this next algorithm.
I'm going to take this chime while I'm sort of checking my cheat sheet to let you know that there's a great mnemonic device for this algorithm. It's coming up fur earth, because it looks kind of like a dog leg, and I go like a little furry dog going earth, earth, and you'll never forget this algorithm because of that.
Front, up, right, up prime, front prime, and that'll give you the nice cross there. Also, you can use either of the algorithms that I just told you. You only have to memorize one, but knowing both of them makes it a little bit quicker. So, say for example, front, up, prime, front prime, I can undo what I just did. Front, up, prime, front prime, now that gives me that. Front, up, prime, front prime, now that I have the cross again. So, if you learn both of them, you can save yourself a step. If you only want to learn one, you can use that one over and over again, and you'll eventually get to this. The next thing we want to do is we want to get the edges on our last layer in place. The way that we do that is you look at your cube and you just rotate the last face until two of the edges are in the right spot. In this case, I have green and white in the right spot, and then blue and yellow over here are not. So you hold it so that the two that are in the right place are on the back and on the right, and you do right, prime, up, right prime. And that should make it so you can rotate your last face and get everything in the right spot, all the edges in the right spot. Now, it's also possible that the two will be across from each other. And then you'll have two that are not lined up will be across from each other this way. And you want to hold the cube so that the two that are right are on the back and on the front. See the way they line up? And you do the same algorithm that you just did. Right prime, up, right prime. And you should end up with two that are in the right spot, and then you hold them in the back and the right, and you do the same one. Right prime, up, right prime. And that'll fix it. You'll be able to rotate the last face so that they're all in the right spot. The last thing we need to do is to get the corner pieces on the last face in the right places and turned around correctly. This is sort of the last couple of steps anyway. Okay. If none of the corners are in the right spot, like I have here, you can hold it so that any side is the front, just as long as the side you're still working on is the top, and you do this algorithm. Up, right, up prime, up, right prime, left. And then you check, and if you have one in the right spot, you're good. See, I got one in the right, and it's even turned around the correct way too, which is nice. If not, you just do that algorithm over and over again, and eventually you will get to a cube that is correct. Eventually. The next thing is you hold it so that the one that's in the right spot, the right location, is sort of in the top right corner. And then you do the same algorithm over and over again. Up, right, up prime, L prime, up, R prime, up prime, L. And if they're all in the right spot, great, you did it right. If not, keep the one that's correct in the same spot and just do it over and over again until they are. The last step is getting the corner pieces so that they're all turned around correctly. I kind of lucked out and I have two that are right and I have two that are not. See, they're in the right spot. Orange, white, green, blue, green, orange, but they're not turned around properly. So the last thing you do, remember the algorithm that we used at the beginning? the r prime d prime r d r prime d prime r d r prime d prime r d r prime d prime r d, and it's correct. Then you hold the rest of the cube in the same place and you just turn the top layer until another corner that needs to be fixed is in the front right sort of top corner. And you do the same algorithm, r prime d prime r d, r prime d prime r d, and eventually you'll get to where it's all solved. And that's it. That last algorithm is sort of your test of courage, because the rest of the cube will be solved and you have to scramble the rest of the cube a little bit in order to fix it at that point. But if you just keep doing it over and over again, you'll get it. Everything will come out okay. Remember, you have to do that last D, and then you have to rotate the top face so that whatever one is left ends up in the correct spot. Okay, now here's a situation where the two corners are across from each other. So you do the algorithm r prime d prime r d, r prime d prime r d, and then you turn the top face again. You just turn it until the one you need to fix is in this top right sort of corner. R prime d prime r d, 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 until it's correct. Same deal. Okay, there's another algorithm that I want to teach you, which is a little bit of a shortcut when you're getting to the middle layer and you want to... We want to get this yellow and blue one over here. Normally you would have to replace it with one in the top layer and then move it, then take it down again. But there's an algorithm you can use. It's sort of a shortcut. You hold it so that the one you want is on the front face, and you go 2F, 2U, 2F, 2U, 2F. And it'll put that one in the right spot without messing up your first layer. And again, let's look around. Here's a couple more we can fix. So let's say we had these two. We just want to flip them around. Same thing. 2F, 2U, 2F, 2U, and 2F. And in this case, it solves the whole cube. But even if it didn't solve the last face, it's a shortcut you can use to get these in the right spot without having to flip them down over and over again. And let me see, there's one more thing. Another shortcut that I wanted to show you. And it has to do with the last three corners. There are basically two algorithms to move these corners around. The one where you start with the correct one in the sort of front top right,
the one I showed you earlier,
moves the remaining three corners around counterclockwise, where you go like that. The other one will move them clockwise, and you start with the correct one in the top front left, and it's just a mirror image. So it's up prime, L prime, up R, up prime.
Here I just totally have a brain fart because I've been working on this for too long.
L, up, R prime. And that's a way you can move the last three around in a different... If you want to learn... If you feel like learning a different algorithm, you can save yourself a step that way. But you don't have to learn it, because even if you do the other one over and over again, they'll all end up in the right spot anyway. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I'm going to do a series on these, I think, so the next one will be 2x2. Hope to see you then.